The dead orbit stretched before them like an endless void, a region of space where countless ships had vanished without a trace. Dr. Naomi Harrison stood at the observation deck of the research vessel Kronos, her dark eyes fixed on the distant stars that seemed dimmer here, as if the very light feared to venture too deep into this forsaken sector. The ship's sensors had picked up something unprecedented, a signal, ancient and complex, emanating from what appeared to be a derelict station hidden in the debris field. After 15 years of studying spatial anomalies, Naomi had never encountered anything quite like this. Dr. Harrison, the preliminary scans are complete. Lieutenant Raj Patel's voice broke through her contemplation. He was the Kronos' tactical officer, a former military man whose experience had proven invaluable in navigating the treacherous waters of deep space. Naomi turned from the viewport, her reflection ghosting against the reinforced glass. "What did we find, Raj?" "The structure appears to be at least 3,000 years old, predating any known human exploration in this sector." Raj pulled up a holographic display, showing a massive station shaped like an elongated diamond, its surface marked with strange geometric patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. "Fascinating," Naomi murmured, reaching out to rotate the image. "Have you ever seen architecture like this?" "Never." Raj shook his head, his usually stoic expression betraying a hint of unease. "The energy signature is unlike anything in our database. It's pulsing, almost like a heartbeat." Commander Diana Zhou joined them, her uniform pristine despite the long hours she'd spent coordinating their approach through the debris field. "The board has approved your request for an expedition team, Dr. Harrison. But they want us in and out within 48 hours. Naomi nodded, knowing this might be their only chance to unlock the mysteries of the dead orbit. "I'll need Raj on the team, along with Dr. Marcus Rivera for xenoarchaeology, and Zara Thompson for engineering." "Done," Diana agreed. "But I'm also assigning Security Chief James Foster. Whatever's out there has been consuming ships for decades. We're not taking any chances." The preparation for the expedition moved quickly. Within hours, their shuttle was loaded with equipment, and the team was suited up in the latest environmental gear. As they approached the station, its true scale became apparent. It dwarfed their shuttle, making them feel like insects approaching a metallic mountain. Getting some strange readings, Zara reported from her station, her fingers dancing across the controls. The young engineer's brow furrowed as she studied the data. "The station's outer hull seems to be absorbing our scan waves." "Absorbing them?" Marcus leaned forward, his academic curiosity piqued. "That's impossible with any known material." "A lot of impossible things happen in the dead orbit," James reminded them, checking his weapon systems for the third time. The security chief's instincts, honed by years of deep space missions, were clearly on high alert. They found a docking port that matched none of their known configurations, but somehow, their systems interfaced with it perfectly. As if the station was adapting to accommodate them. "That shouldn't be possible," Zara whispered, but they all heard her through the comm system. The airlock cycled, and they entered the station. Their helmet lights illuminated corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction, their surfaces covered in the same shifting patterns they'd observed from outside. The air was breathable, according to their sensors, but no one suggested removing their helmets. "The signal's coming from deeper inside," Naomi said, consulting her handheld scanner. "About 2 kilometers in that direction." She pointed down a corridor that seemed to pulse with a faint, bluish light. As they moved deeper into the station, their comm signals began to deteriorate. Static crept in, and occasionally they heard what sounded like whispers in unknown languages. The patterns on the walls seemed to follow their movement, rearranging themselves in ways that defied physics. "This place is alive," Marcus said, running his scanner over a section of wall. "These patterns, they're not decorative. They're more like neurons firing in a massive brain." "Keep focused on the mission," James warned, but his voice carried an edge of tension that none of them had heard before. They reached what appeared to be a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness above them. In the center stood a pillar of light, pulsing with the same rhythm as the signal that had led them here. As they approached, symbols began appearing in the air around them, complex mathematical equations that seemed to solve themselves before their eyes. "It's beautiful," Naomi breathed, reaching out toward the light. But before she could touch it, their comms erupted with a deafening screech, and the patterns on the walls began moving faster, more chaotically. "We need to leave," James said urgently, but his voice was nearly lost in the growing cacophony of sounds flooding their comms. The last thing Naomi saw before the chamber plunged into darkness was a message forming in the air before her, written in perfectly formed English: "We have been waiting for you, children of Earth. The test begins now." Darkness enveloped them like a living thing, pressing against their visors with an almost tangible weight. The emergency lights on their suits cast eerie shadows that danced across the station's reactive walls, making it impossible to tell whether they were seeing movement or just reflections of their own fear. "Status report," James barked through the static-filled comm channel. "Everyone sound off." "Thompson here," Zara responded first, her voice steady despite the situation. "My suit's power is fluctuating, but holding." "Rivera, present," Marcus called out, followed by Raja's terse acknowledgement. "Dr. Harrison?" James's voice carried a note of concern when Naomi didn't immediately respond. "I'm here," she finally answered, her voice distant. "But something's different." She was still standing near the pillar of light, which had dimmed to a soft, pulsing glow. The equations that had filled the air were gone, but she could still see them in her mind, clearer than ever. "Different how?" Raj moved closer to her, his tactical training evident in every careful step. "The message wasn't just words," Naomi explained, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "It was downloading information directly into our minds. Mathematical concepts, scientific principles we've never even imagined." A low hum began to resonate through the chamber, making their teeth vibrate in their skulls. The patterns on the walls started flowing like liquid mercury, all moving toward the central pillar where Naomi stood. "We need to move," James insisted, reaching for Naomi's arm. "Now." But as they turned to leave, they found the doorway they'd entered through had vanished, replaced by a seamless wall covered in those same shifting patterns. Zara ran her hands over the surface, her engineering expertise seeking any hint of a mechanism. "This isn't possible," she muttered. "The whole station's architecture is reorganizing itself." Marcus was recording everything with his suit's cameras, his academic enthusiasm barely contained. "Look at the pattern progression. It's not random. It's forming some kind of..." His voice trailed off as the patterns suddenly coalesced into a series of images, scenes from Earth's history, but wrong somehow. They showed humanity's greatest achievements alongside its darkest moments, but from an outside perspective, clinical and detached. "They've been watching us," Raj realized, his military training helping him recognize surveillance when he saw it. "All this time, they've been studying humanity." The hum grew louder, and with it came voices, whispers in languages both human and distinctly alien, overlapping and interweaving until they formed a sort of cosmic symphony. The team's comm channels began picking up fragments of conversations from Earth's past, ancient philosophical debates, modern scientific discussions, children's laughter, and death screams all mixed together. "My suit's systems are going haywire," Zara reported, her comm facade finally cracking. "Whatever this place is, it's not just a station. It's some kind of vast data storage system, and it's trying to interface with our technology." Naomi felt a presence brush against her mind, alien yet somehow familiar. It carried with it emotions she couldn't quite grasp, curiosity, anticipation, and something that might have been concern. "They're not just storing data," she realized, her voice filled with wonder and terror in equal measure. "They're storing experiences, memories, entire civilizations." A new doorway appeared in the chamber wall, this one leading deeper into the station. The patterns around it pulsed with an inviting rhythm, like a heartbeat beckoning them forward. "We should go back," James said, but even as he spoke, they all knew that wasn't an option anymore. The station had chosen them for something, and their only choice now was to see it through. "Look at these readings," Marcus said, his scanner displaying impossible energy signatures. "The whole station is like a massive neural network, but it's operating on principles that completely contradict our understanding of physics." As they moved through the new doorway, they entered a corridor that seemed to stretch into infinity. The walls here were covered in what looked like frozen moments in time, snapshots of countless alien civilizations caught in moments of triumph and tragedy. "Some of these species," Marcus breathed, "they're millions of years more advanced than us." Or at least they were. Were? Raj asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. "All of these civilizations," Naomi explained, the downloaded knowledge in her mind helping her understand, "they're extinct now. This place isn't just a database, it's a memorial." The whispers in their comms grew more intense, and now they could make out words in English, scattered phrases that painted a disturbing picture: potential for growth, aggressive expansion, genetic adaptability, concerning development speed. "They're talking about us," Zara realized. "Humanity. We're being evaluated." Before anyone could respond, the corridor ahead of them began to transform. The walls, floor, and ceiling became transparent, revealing the vast expanse of space around them. But it wasn't the space they knew. Strange geometries twisted the very fabric of reality, and in the distance, they could see things moving, vast shapes that defied description, living mathematics that made their minds recoil. "The dead orbit," Naomi whispered. "It's not just a region of space. It's a testing ground. And now it's our turn to be tested." The transparent corridor began to fill with a soft, golden light, and ahead of them, a figure began to take shape, not human, not alien, but something in between. It reached out toward them with limbs made of pure energy, and in their minds, they all heard the same message. "Welcome to the archive of extinct civilizations. Your trial begins now. The future of humanity hangs in the balance." The being of golden light hovered before them, its form constantly shifting between shapes that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the human mind could process. Dr. Harrison felt knowledge continuing to flow into her consciousness, but now it came with context, and with that context, terror. "You are the first humans to reach this far," the entity communicated directly into their minds. Its thoughts carried echoes of countless other voices, remnants of civilizations long since vanished from the universe. "Many of your kind have entered the dead orbit. None have survived the initial tests. The missing ships," Raj said, his tactical mind putting the pieces together. "They were all part of your evaluation." The entity's form rippled in what might have been acknowledgement. Around them, the transparent corridor began displaying scenes from human history, but not the grand moments of triumph they'd seen before. Instead, they watched wars, environmental destruction, and countless acts of cruelty. "Your species is remarkable," the entity continued. "You advance despite your self-destructive tendencies. You create beauty even as you sow devastation. You are unique among the civilizations we have studied." Zara's engineering sensors were going haywire, picking up energy readings that defied known physics. The station isn't just recording history, she realized. It's actively processing reality itself. "Correct," the entity responded. "We are the archivists. We preserve the essence of civilizations before they reach the Great Filter." Marcus stepped forward, his xenoarchaeologist's curiosity overwhelming his fear. "The Great Filter, the theoretical evolutionary barrier that prevents civilizations from reaching true cosmic maturity?" The corridor around them transformed again, showing them images of countless alien worlds. They watched as civilization after civilization rose, reached for the stars, and then, ended. Some through war, others through environmental collapse, and some through dangers they couldn't even comprehend. All civilizations faced the same choice, the entity explained. Evolution demands growth. Growth demands expansion. Expansion leads to conflict. Conflict brings extinction. It is the universal constant we have observed across millions of years. But you preserve them here, Naomi said, understanding dawning. You save something of each species before they destroy themselves. The entity's form pulsed brighter. We preserve their knowledge, their experiences, their essence. But humanity. It paused, and the golden light took on a reddish tinge. Humanity is different. You adapt at an unprecedented rate. You survive what should destroy you. You defy patterns that have held true since the beginning of consciousness in this galaxy. James had been quiet, his security training keeping him focused on potential threats. But now he spoke up. You're not just studying us. You're afraid of us. The temperature in the corridor dropped suddenly, their suit sensors registering temperatures approaching absolute zero. The entity's form expanded, filling the space with tendrils of light that seemed to pierce directly into their minds. Fear is an inadequate term, it responded. We have watched your kind break every prediction model we possessed. You achieve faster than you should. You survive what should annihilate you. You are an anomaly that threatens the very balance we have maintained for eons. Naomi felt something probing through her memories, examining her life's experiences with cold precision. Around her, she could see her teammates experiencing the same invasion, their faces contorted in discomfort behind their visors. The test is not to determine if humanity will survive, the entity revealed. The test is to determine if humanity should be allowed to survive. The corridor began to fill with a strange, shimmering mist. Where it touched their suits, the metal and plastic began to transform, becoming something else entirely. Zara tried to get readings, but her instruments were no longer functioning in any way she understood. Your bodies are being enhanced, the entity explained. Temporarily adapted to perceive reality as we do. Only then can you understand the true nature of your trial. The mist seeped through their suits, painlessly penetrating their skin. Naomi felt her consciousness expanding, becoming aware of dimensions and realities that her human mind had never been equipped to perceive. She saw the true nature of the archive, not just a station, but a nexus point where all possible timelines converged. "Oh God," Marcus whispered, his voice filled with awe and horror. "We're not just in space. We're in a fold between universes." The entity's form stabilized into something almost comprehensible, a being of pure information, existing simultaneously across multiple planes of reality. Now you begin to understand. The dead orbit is not a place. It is a process. A mechanism for evaluating species that approach evolutionary divergence. Divergence into what? Raj asked, though from his tone, he already feared the answer. The entity's response came not in words, but in a vision that nearly shattered their enhanced minds. They saw humanity's potential futures, countless timelines where their species transcended its physical limitations, evolved into beings of pure energy and thought, expanded across galaxies, and reshaped reality itself according to their will. Your potential is infinite, the entity said. That is why you must be tested. That is why you must prove yourselves worthy of such power. Or prove yourselves too dangerous to be allowed to continue. As the vision faded, they found themselves in a vast chamber that seemed to exist outside of normal spacetime. Before them stood 5 pedestals, each emanating a different color of light. Choose, the entity commanded. Each of you must face a trial. Your choices and actions will determine humanity's fate. But know this, not all of you will survive the process. The 5 pedestals pulsed with otherworldly light, crimson, azure, emerald, gold, and violet. Each seemed to call to a specific member of the team, resonating with something deep within their enhanced consciousness. The entity had spread itself throughout the chamber, existing everywhere and nowhere at once. Zara approached the crimson pedestal first, drawn by its mechanical complexity. The moment her hand touched the surface, she vanished in a flash of red light. Before anyone could react, Marcus was pulled toward the azure pedestal, Raj to the emerald, James to the gold, and Naomi to the violet. In her trial chamber, Zara found herself facing an impossible machine, a device that seemed to operate on principles that contradicted the laws of physics. "Fix it," the entity's voice echoed in her mind. "But know that each adjustment will cause a cascade of effects across multiple realities." She watched as her modifications rippled through time and space, causing civilizations to rise or fall, stars to live or die. The weight of cosmic engineering pressed down on her enhanced mind as she realized that true progress always came with unforeseen consequences. Marcus's trial thrust him into the collected memories of extinct species. He experienced their final moments, their hopes, their fears, their regrets. "Choose which civilizations deserve to be remembered," the entity commanded. "Storage space is finite. Some must be deleted to make room for humanity's future." The crushing responsibility of choosing which cultures lived on in memory and which would be forever lost tested not just his academic knowledge, but his very understanding of what made a civilization worthy of preservation. Raj found himself in a strategic simulation spanning galaxies. Countless civilizations were on the brink of war, each with the power to annihilate solar systems. "Prevent their destruction," came the command. "But remember, every action you take will be mirrored in humanity's development." He watched as his military decisions shaped not just the fate of alien species, but echoed through time to influence humanity's own martial evolution. Each choice carried the weight of countless lives across the cosmos. James's trial was more personal. He stood in a chamber filled with versions of himself from different timelines, some were heroes, others villains, each having made different choices at crucial moments. "Understand yourself," the entity demanded. "Then judge which version of humanity deserves to survive." He witnessed how personal choices could ripple outward to affect the fate of entire species, how individual morality scaled up to civilization-ending consequences. Naomi's trial was perhaps the most profound. She found herself experiencing the birth and death of universes, watching as reality itself underwent cycles of creation and destruction. "Observe the pattern," the entity instructed. "Then decide if humanity's potential evolution will preserve or destroy the cosmic balance." She saw how humanity's trajectory differed from every other species the archivists had encountered. Where others followed predictable paths, humans created new ones. Where others reached limits, humans broke through them. This gift was also their greatest threat. Through their enhanced perception, each team member could sense the other's trials, their experiences bleeding together across the boundaries of space-time. They felt each other's choices, each other's struggles, each other's revelations. The entity's presence permeated everything, its vast intelligence observing their responses with an attention that spanned eons. "Your species defies categorization," it communicated. "You create and destroy with equal passion. You reach for the stars while still fighting in the mud. You dream of utopia while building weapons of mass destruction." Suddenly, Zara's voice cut through their shared consciousness, filled with horror. "The machine, it's not broken. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's a filter, removing civilizations that become too dangerous." Marcus's revelation followed: the archived species, they're not just preserved. They're being used as templates, baseline patterns to judge all new civilizations against. "The wars," Raj added, his tactical mind seeing the bigger picture. "They're not random. They're engineered to test species' capacity for violence and restraint." James understood then why he was seeing all versions of himself. "We're not being tested as individuals. We're being tested as representatives of every possible version of humanity." Naomi's enlightenment was the last piece of the puzzle. The pattern, it's not about preservation or destruction. It's about change. Humanity doesn't just change our environment, we change ourselves. We change the very rules of evolution. The chamber began to vibrate with energy as their combined realizations reached a crescendo. The entity's form concentrated into a singular point of blinding light. "You understand now," it said, its voice carrying both approval and concern. The question is not whether humanity will survive. The question is whether reality itself can survive humanity's evolution. The pedestals began to crack, leaking energy that twisted the fabric of space-time around them. Their enhanced perceptions showed them the truth: their trials weren't just tests. They were keys, unlocking something that had been sealed away since the beginning of time itself. "Make your final choice," the entity commanded. "But know this, you cannot choose solely for humanity. You must choose for all of existence, past, present, and future." The chamber's walls became transparent, revealing the vast machinery of reality itself, the cosmic gears and universal constants that kept existence functioning. And there, in the heart of it all, they saw what the entity had been protecting: the source code of the universe itself. The source code of the universe pulsed before them, a living equation written in light and darkness, in matter and energy, in life and death. Their enhanced minds could barely comprehend its complexity, a mathematical symphony that defined the very nature of existence. "Humanity's potential allows you to alter this code," the entity explained. "No other species has ever reached this point. All others either destroyed themselves or accepted their limitations. Your kind refuses to accept any limitations." Naomi reached out with her transformed consciousness, feeling the subtle patterns that held reality together. "If we can change the code, we can rewrite the rules of existence itself." "And therein lies the danger," the entity responded. "Your species might survive the great filter, might transcend physical form, might spread across the cosmos. But your inherent drive to push boundaries, to break rules, to transform everything you touch, it threatens the stability of existence itself." The chamber trembled as temporal energies surged around them. Through their shared consciousness, each team member contributed to their understanding of the choice before them. "We're looking at it wrong," Zara said suddenly, her engineer's mind seeing patterns within patterns. "The code isn't just running the universe, it's evolving. Reality itself is learning, adapting, growing." Marcus's archaeological knowledge provided context. Every extinct civilization, they're not just memories. They're evolutionary steps. The universe is using them to learn, to become more complex. The dead orbit, Raj realized, it's not just a testing ground. It's an incubator for universal evolution. James, still processing the multiple versions of humanity he'd witnessed, added, "And we're not being judged on whether we'll survive. We're being judged on how our survival will affect the universe's own evolution." Naomi felt the truth of their words resonating through her enhanced consciousness. The entity had spread itself around them again, its presence both approving and anxious. "You understand," it said. "Now choose. Will you accept limitation and survive? Or will you claim the power to rewrite reality itself?" But Naomi saw another option, one hidden in the complex mathematics of existence itself. She reached out to her teammates through their shared consciousness, showing them what she'd discovered. "There's a third choice," she said, her voice carrying the weight of revelation. "The code isn't meant to be preserved or rewritten. It's meant to be understood. To be partnered with." The entity's form flickered with interest. "Explain." Zara grasped the concept first, her hands moving through the air as if manipulating invisible machinery. "We don't need to break the rules or be bound by them. We can work with them, help them evolve naturally. Like a symbiotic relationship," Marcus added, his xenoarchaeological expertise finding new relevance. "Not parasitic, not competitive, but cooperative evolution." The entity's presence intensified, its attention focused entirely on their response. "In all our existence, no species has proposed cooperation with the fundamental forces of reality itself. That's humanity's true potential," Naomi said, understanding flowing through her. "Not to conquer or submit, but to form connections. To bridge gaps. To find middle paths where others see only extremes." The chamber began to transform around them, the walls of reality becoming permeable, showing them glimpses of possible futures. They saw humanity spreading across the cosmos not as conquerors or destroyers, but as gardeners of reality, helping the universe itself grow and evolve while growing alongside it. A dangerous choice, the entity warned. To walk the line between chaos and order, to neither fully transcend nor fully submit. The risks are beyond calculation. That's what makes us human, James said. We thrive in uncertainty. We find ways to turn risks into opportunities. The entity's form began to pulse with new colors, frequencies never before seen in this reality. Then let this be humanity's trial, not to prove your worth to exist, but to prove your worth to participate in existence's evolution. The chamber filled with light that seemed to originate from everywhere and nowhere. The team felt their consciousness expanding further, touching the very edges of reality itself. They were changing, evolving, but not into beings of pure energy or thought. Instead, they were becoming bridges between the physical and the infinite. Return to your kind, the entity commanded. Show them this path. But remember, the choice must be made freely by each human. Force this path upon them, and you will become what you sought to avoid. The light reached a blinding intensity, and reality itself seemed to hold its breath. In that moment, they understood the true nature of the dead orbit, not a graveyard of lost ships or a testing ground for species, but a crucible where consciousness and reality learned to dance together. As their enhanced perceptions began to fade, as the cosmic awareness receded from their minds, they caught one last glimpse of the entity's true form, not a single consciousness, but a symphony of all those who had chosen to help reality evolve, their combined wisdom echoing through the corridors of existence. The team found themselves back on the Chronos, their bodies normal but their minds forever changed. Only minutes had passed in normal time, but they carried within them the knowledge of eons, the responsibility of cosmic cooperation, and the understanding that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its potential to change reality, but in its ability to form connections, even with reality itself. The dead orbit still stretched before them, but now they saw it for what it truly was, not a void to be feared, but a canvas where humanity could help paint the next phase of universal evolution. The true horror wasn't in what awaited them in the darkness of space, but in the infinite responsibility of helping existence itself grow without losing their own humanity in the process. As they began their journey home, they carried with them not just answers, but a new question: how does one teach an entire species to dance with reality?